Speaking of the White Sox, I mean,
Yes.
I feel like things are finally getting back to normal
Ooh.
because they had a winning record against AL Central teams this weekend at home, 4-3.
Boy.
And what were you? What was the phrase you just used? Why? Like how silly like baseball is. Like
Oh,
if
baseball analysis,
yeah,
like the
like just the Cubs. If the Cubs had won 2 to
prisoner of the
1,
moment is what it comes
yeah.
down to. But
So I'm going to be really silly here because this is going to be a whole prisoner of the moment segment. This could be a new segment, prisoner of the moment.
I like that.
The Sox.
Bro, I'll do some like siren, like yard siren sound effects.
Maybe some word pigs in the background or
Oh yeah, I like that.
something.
Maybe some Shawshank Redemption quotes.
But I'm a prisoner of the moment right now. When the Sox start beating their division again, I feel like things are slowly trending back to the norm. 4-3 against AL Central over this homestand. They already doubled their win total of the Royals last year by winning 2
Wow.
games. They only
Oh my
beat the
god.
Royals once last year. Woo!
That's huge. That's huge though to get that monkey off your back at least. Like it's a
We're
totally different.
100% better than we were last year. But all of that aside, we've talked about it throughout the year so far. Like the Sox just have a different vibe. It's like the baseball IQ has gone up on the team
Yes.
like
Yeah,
tremendously.
that's
And
clearly evident just watching them over like 2 innings. You can see that they're not as stupid or lazy or whatever the issues were last year. That they look, even though they're not winning at a large clip, they look like a competent baseball team.
you don't think a 333 winning percentage is a large clip? Well, compared to 231, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus.
It's all pointed up.
I mean,
But
a lot of that is a talent deficit that you'll be closing eventually and pretty
yeah,
quickly. But the stupidity and the bad base running, missing the cutoff man, I feel like those things are far less obvious or far less than they were last year.
yeah, which is 100% proof that it was coaching. It was
Mm-hmm.
manager and coaches and
And culture, all that,
yeah,
which
yeah,
comes down to the coaches.
yeah. It just feels so different, and it's so nice. I hate to keep repeating myself, but it's so nice to be ready to sit down and watch a White Sox game and not be like, oh, the Sox are on. I'm
Yeah,
not, it's just so different now. But like part of the reason the Sox are doing well is they're getting like some really great numbers out of the rookies and guys they've gotten in these trades they've done, like probably performing better than anticipated. And I think my boy who I met at my little Sox benefit I went to beyond the diamond, Chase Mairdroth, he had a
yeah,
fucking series against the Tigers.
yeah.
He
He
had a
did.
14-15 OPS.
He was like on base every time. I don't know if he ever was not on base in that series. It was crazy.
Yeah, at one point, my taunting of Smitty was updating his batting average against the Tigers throughout the series. But
Yeah, it was like
um,
6 for 9 at one point, or I forget the one you sent me, but yeah, it was ridiculous.
but even I don't know. I find this stat like pretty awesome about him this year. He's played in 43 games, and what I mean, he's come in a couple games where he's filled in late for defensive replacements or a base runner, but hasn't had a plate appearance. But in the 41 games he's had a plate appearance, he has safely reached base 35 of those 41 games. So he's only to start off his career with the White Sox, only when he's had an at bat, not been on base 6 times. To me, that's fucking crazy. And
Wow.
that's why I was I wasn't sure where I was gonna settle out at, but he has a 1.6 WAR already. Like in 43 fucking games. I mean, like he's solid defensively,
Yeah.
like, and he's considered like the third or fourth piece of that Boston trade.
Yeah. Well,
So
and Kyle Teal got called up this weekend. He wasn't
yeah,
he the main piece of that.
yeah, he's one of the main pieces of that. And I'm not going to talk Kyle Teal yet because it's too small of a sample size. So,
Well, I know, but you're already seeing more hope out of a Chris Getz trade than you saw out
Yeah,
of
I know.
Rakan. So yeah.
Yeah, it's the Wrath of Han. Right. By the way, folks, we have nothing. We do not need to talk about Rick Hahn at all this week. He was not.
Wow.
He's not anywhere to be found this week.
I just
Uh,
posted our segment about that this morning on YouTube though, so I was thinking about Rakan, even though it was from last week. But
he's always on your mind, isn't
I will
he?
never stop thinking of Rakan.
You can't quit him.
I can't quit you. God.
Some other awesome numbers to point out, and this is with our starting pitching, which is so much better than last year. Shane
Yeah.
Smith, 2.45 ERA, 1.13 WHIP, 60 Ks and 62 in a third innings.
He was great against the Tigers.
1.7 WAR. I mean, this guy's legit. He was a Rule 5 pickup from you'll love this, the Brewers.
Nice.
So
fuck them.
Helping the Cubs out there picking that
good
up.
Work.
And Davis Martin too has been pretty solid. He had a good outing this week too, but his numbers this year: 3.62 ERA, 1.205 WHIP, 48 Ks, 1.3 WAR. So, like those are the. It's you got Edgar Cuero. He's got a high batting average. He's got a crazy BABIP. That's why I didn't include him on this. But all of the like young guys they brought up pretty much so far have probably performed slightly better than anticipated at this stage of their career. And that's probably the biggest difference from what we saw last time. So far they've been on the field. So it's probably the biggest difference.
That's big. Yeah.
But let's get to some fucking funny stats. And these are just fucking ridiculous comparisons. I thought this would be fun. Just ridiculous comparisons to last year's team because it's just so bad. It makes everything seem that much better. First example is the Sox currently, as I pointed out, have a 333 winning percentage, which puts them on a rapid pace of 54 wins this year. So that is 13 wins better than last year. But I actually think that is going to go above 54. This is my prediction. And here's why. Sox have gone 13-28 against teams above 500 so far, which doesn't sound that great, but considering they only won last year. Last year, they only won 21 total games against teams above 500. So they're only 8 games away from hitting that mark. Their run differential at this point last season compared to this season is 60% better. They only have a negative 51 run differential. So this is when I use run differential in my favor.
You love run differential when it works in your favor.
When it works in my favor, I will use it, and I'm using it now.
Okay. I'll remember this.
Yes, I did it before you could say it to me. I know. Because you were already loading up.
Well done, yes.
And I cut you off, you son of a bitch.
Self-awareness is always a good quality. So nice.
All right. Two more quick stats, and then we can move on. Starting pitchers' ERA this season is 3.9. We're talking about a 4.62 at this point last year. That is significant.
Yeah, that's big.
I mean, that's an earned run average. So you're talking about a lot of run savings there.
Yeah.
And then this will not be a surprising stat. I thought it would be a little bit higher, but the Sox, with some coaches actually coaching and switching up how hitters are gripping the bat and how they're using their swing. We've hit 52 homers this year, which that was our biggest flaw last year is we could never hit that key, the biggest thing you need home runs to change the game or to get back in a game. But we've already hit 52 home runs this year, which is already 40% of the total home runs that they hit last year. So like everything, again, the bar is so low.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't mean that, I thought Will Venable was a good choice. And I thought the coaches he picked were like,
it made sense on paper, but you didn't know how it was really going to translate.
Right. I said, I'm going to give Pedro Grifol a chance. And that lasted about fucking 2 weeks. But, Will Venable is like it's baseball IQ is what's happening with the White
Yep,
Sox right now.
absolutely.
And honestly, I think like some of it is Chris Getz too. And there's like a working relationship there that probably hasn't existed since Ozzy with like Kenny and Rick. So
Mm. Well,
hopefully
careful
it's
with that though, because
yeah, I know. And
that blew
hopefully
up
it's a
in
little more
spectacular fashion.
yeah, hopefully it's more glorious than that, like one World Series and then a bunch of animosity and
Yeah.
anger. But I
A
mean,
lot of entertainment though.
a lot of entertainment, yeah.
Always
But
entertaining.
but like honestly, like just real quick, the KC series. I'm sure you didn't watch any of it,
I did
but
actually. I
oh,
watched
did
quite a
you?
bit. Yeah.
Did you watch the end of the game? I mean, if the bullpen doesn't let up that 2-run homer to Bobby Witt, the Sox scored. That was the key hit of the game. Like the
Yeah.
Sox came back in the bottom of the ninth and it ended 7-5. They were a Tim Elko. They had bases loaded at that point. They were a Tim Elko base hit away from winning that fucking game. So
Well,
like it's
this
it's
just in,
fun.
Bobby Witt is good, by the way. So
What
don't feel bad about that.
is he?
Yeah. Yeah, I did end up watching quite a bit of the KC series just because it's quality baseball now. It's visibly different. It's not as embarrassing as it was, and frustrating, I'm sure, for you to watch for those years. So
Yeah,
it's
actually
gonna
turning double plays. It's wild.
yeah. I like your pitching. I think your pitching really showed its shit against the Tigers, at least last week. I think you need to see that play out over a longer span, but
True.
Word Hole Media.